Scoring judges, if you could please look to the two buttons on your lower left hand of your screen to turn off your audio and your video. These should remain off until the trial ends. And you should also have your video set to hide all non-video participants. This means that you should only be seeing the advocates and me on your screen right now. Can we have appearances from the attorneys, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Catherine Hunnicutt, and today I'm joined by my second chair, Peyton Robertson.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Defense?
We represent,
Proceed.
We represent the plaintiff, Ethel Marks, in this case. And with that, the plaintiff does have a couple pretrial matters to attend to.
Okay, let's get appearances from defense and then we'll attend to those.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury, Tavisha Khanna on behalf of the defense. Today, I'm joined by my second chair, Ishi Nair.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Ishi Nair, and I will be serving as the defense's second chair.
Good afternoon. And plaintiff, you said that you had a few pretrial matters?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, as it pertains to screen sharing exhibits, would you prefer that I simply announce that I'm screen sharing an exhibit, or would you like for me to ask permission before doing so?
Once an exhibit has been admitted, you can do whatever you want with it, put it on your screen. I would just ask that you indicate for the record what you're doing.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's next?
The plaintiff has no more pretrial matters.
Wonderful. Anything from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. First, we ask that we skip the swearing in of the witnesses. And then we ask that if we are sharing screens with exhibits, would it be okay to share them without the presence of a jury so that the witnesses can see what we might be referring to?
So as to the first one, we'll consider all witnesses pre-sworn. And as for sharing exhibits constructively outside the presence of the jury, why don't we cross that bridge when we get there? And you can just indicate for the court what you're doing while you're doing it. And, we can constructively dismiss the jury if need be. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
How does that sound, plaintiff?
That sounds perfectly fine, Your Honor.
Great. Anything else from the defense?
Nothing further from the defense.
Okay. Does plaintiff have an opening statement for the court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wonderful. So everyone should make sure that they're in speaker view. That button is in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And attorneys, please remember to mute your audio while the other attorney is speaking. Plaintiff's counsel, you may proceed.
There are some things that money can't buy. To Ethel Marks, the life of her 19-year-old daughter was priceless. But on March 25th at 1 a.m. as she lay in her bed, her phone rings. She picks up her phone, and when she does, she gets a message that no mother ever wants to hear. Jessica had been overserved alcohol. She had crashed her car. Jessica was gone. Jessica Marks, just 19 years old, Ethel's priceless daughter, gone. There are some things money can't buy. Now, what is it that brought us here today? The evidence will show that Jessica Marks was a college student. And in March of 2019, she decided to visit her friend Morgan Levin here in California. Now, the two of them that week, they decided to go to a bar called Sunny's Rooftop Bar. And you'll hear today that even early on that night, Jessica Marks already appeared visibly intoxicated. But not only that, you'll hear from Morgan Levin that the defendant commented on just how intoxicated Jessica seemed to be. "We need to cut this one off," she said, while doing exactly the opposite. "I hope this one's not driving," while watching Jessica walk out the door. And at 11:50 on March 24th, Jessica got in her car to drive back to the room that she had rented. And her car didn't even make it a quarter of a mile. It veered to the left, fell down a ravine, and Jessica's body was crushed, her life gone. So why is it that we're here today? Well, in the state of California, we have what's called a Dram Shop Act, and that holds bars like the defendant liable if they, 1, are licensed to sell alcohol, 2, they serve that alcohol to a minor, 3, while that minor is obviously intoxicated, and 4, doing so proximately causes injury, which in this case means that it was a substantial factor in causing the death of Jessica Marks. Now, as you listen to today's trial, I just ask that you pay attention to 3 main points. First, the sheer volume of alcohol. Listen when you hear just how much wine, beer, and liquor the defendant served Jessica Marks's table. Second, the defendant's admissions. The evidence will show that the defendant even acknowledged that Jessica was too drunk to drive, yet never cut her off. And third, the defendant's standards for obvious intoxication. I expect you'll see a video today, and when you do, I want you to pay attention to the recording. And you'll see that the defendant's standards for obvious intoxication, they're just not correct. Now, the defendant, they made roughly $150 by the end of that night. 3 White Claws, $27. 2 green tea shots, $16. The life of Jessica Marks, priceless. You can't bring her back, but you can speak to the defendant in the only language that they understand. Fine for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Do we have opening statements from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Jessica's decisions are what ultimately led to Jessica's demise. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Members of the jury. Once again, Tavisha Khanna on behalf of the defense. Members of the jury, we are here today because on the night of March 24th, 2019, Jessica Marks made a series of decisions. A series of decisions that ultimately led to her demise. In today's case, we're dealing with a lot. Now, we too are upset that Jessica Marks died so young. We too are upset with what so tragically happened. But we're here today because despite what happened, an innocent person like Sunny Mehta doesn't get to take the blame. Because it was Jessica's decisions that led to her demise. So what are the decisions that Jessica made? Throughout today's trial, I want you to keep 3 things in mind. First, what happened before Sunny's, what happened at Sunny's, and what happened after Sunny's. Firstly, we'll hear from Morgan Levin, Jessica Marks' best friend. She'll tell you how these decisions started much before the night of March 24th, how Jessica had a history of drinking, how she obtained a fake ID, and how on the night of March 24th, she started drinking before even going to Sunny's. We'll hear that it was Jessica's decision to get into that car. And we'll hear that Jessica had drink after drink after drink. Each and every decision that ultimately led to her demise. And then we'll hear from Sunny Mehta, a trained professional, who will tell us that Jessica Marks did not exhibit the signs of a clearly intoxicated person. And therefore, he thought that she was fit to drive. You'll learn that she made the decision to drink, she made the decision to get to the car, and she made the decision that led to her demise. And lastly, you'll learn that the plaintiff's case is built off of unreasonable and unreliable facts, because it was Jessica's decisions that led to Jessica's demise.
Thank you, counsel. I'll again have all of the scoring judges go to the top right-hand corner of your screen. Switch back to gallery view so that you can see me and the advocates. May the plaintiff call their first witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff calls Morgan Levin to the stand.
Morgan Levin, you have been pre-sworn, and plaintiff, you may proceed.
Ms. Levin, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Morgan Levin, and I'm 21 years old.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm currently a junior at UCLA, and I'm still an undergrad.
Did you know Jessica Marks?
I did. We were best friends. We met junior high, and we've been inseparable since.
What can you tell us about your relationship?
We were very, very close. We did basically everything together. Even when we went to college in different parts of the country, we still kept in touch.
All right, I want to talk now about spring break of 2019. Did you see Jessica that week?
I did. We hung out that entire week, actually, yeah.
What did you do together?
We traveled all over California. We wanted to make this the best spring break ever. We went to this place called Annie's Grilled Cheese. We had some beer over there, and we went to Disneyland where we had some wine, and we went to this other place in Santa Monica, and we got some of Harper's famous martinis. They were to die for.
All right, Ms. Levin, let's be upfront about something. Were you old enough to drink at the time?
At the time, no, I wasn't. We were just college kids, and we had a fake ID, but at the time, no, we weren't 20.
So Jessica wasn't allowed to drink at the time either, is that correct?
No, she wasn't. We have the same exact birthday, so she was 19 at the time too.
All right, now Ms. Levin, are you familiar with Sunny's Rooftop Bar?
I am, yes.
During that week, did you go to Sunny's Rooftop Bar?
Yeah, it was the very last place we went to. It was how we we're gonna close out our spring break.
All right, why did you specifically go there?
Well, Jessica and I wanted a big finish to our time over spring break, and we just wanted to go to a place that wouldn't check our IDs because it's just easier that way since we are under 21. And we know Sunny's has this reputation of not keying.
Jackson, Your Honor. Character evidence, the witness is testifying to the type of reputation that Sunny's Rooftop Bar has.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
You may.
Your Honor, we're not offering this evidence to show conduct in conformity therewith, as we know that that night they didn't check their IDs.
Any response, defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Just whether or not the IDs were checked, the statement that they knew that they were irresponsible or didn't check IDs still goes to speak to the bar's character evidence.
Since your objection is well taken, I'm going to overrule it for right now.
Right. Yes, Your Honor. And now, Ms. Levin, when did you arrive at Sunny's Rooftop Bar?
We got there around 9 o'clock.
While you were at Sunny's, who was it that served your table?
It was Sunny Meta. Yeah, she was our server for the whole night.
Right, Your Honor, let the record reflect that I'm now displaying a copy of Exhibit 17. Okay, Ms. Levin, whose name is at the top of this receipt?
Sunny's Rooftop Bar.
And is this a fair and accurate copy?
It is.
Right. Your Honor, I now move to enter Exhibit 17 into evidence.
Any objection, defense?
No objections, Your Honor.
It'll be received.
All right, so Ms. Levin, looking at this receipt, what exactly did you drink that night?
I had a glass of wine, a beer, and a green tea shot.
And what exactly did Jessica drink?
Jessica had the rest of the wine that I didn't drink, 3 White Claws, a beer, and a green tea shot.
Is there anything that Jessica drank that night that's not on this receipt?
Yeah, Jessica went and got herself a rum and Coke or a Captain Morgan and Coke. That's not on the receipt.
All right, Your Honor, let the record reflect that I'm now displaying exhibits 11 through 16. All right, Ms. Levin, what are these?
These are pictures that I took of our table the night Jessica died.
You said you took these photos. Are these fair and accurate depictions?
Yeah, they're just as I took them.
Your Honor, permission to enter exhibits 11 through 16 into evidence?
Any objection, defense?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibits 11 through 16 are admitted.
And Your Honor, according to stipulation 16, I will now be displaying the timestamps underneath each of these pictures. Okay. Now, Ms. Levin, I want you to look closely at these photos. Where are you in relation to the camera?
I'm on the opposite side of the table, so the person you see is Jessica, and I'm not in the frame because I was taking the picture.
The drinks on the other side of the table, would those be yours or Jessica's?
Those were Jessica's drinks.
And as Jessica was drinking all of that alcohol that night, how was she acting?
She just got drunker and drunker as the night went on.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
And may I respond?
You may.
Yes, Your Honor, Ms. Levin was there with Ms. Marks, and this is a lay opinion under Rule 701. She would be able to rationally perceive that Ms. Marks did continue to get drunker as she continued to drink alcohol.
Now, I do believe that, would you like to respond, defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Whether stating that she was drunk is not based on her perception. So if she were to say that she was exhibiting symptoms of someone who was drunk, it'd be different to saying that she was drunk, because Ms. Levin has no personal knowledge that she was drunk at the time.
I'm going to sustain the objection for now. I think you can ask the witness what she saw and what she perceived.
All right, yes, Your Honor. So, Ms. Levin, are you familiar with Exhibit 10?
Yes, I am. I took that video.
What does it depict?
It shows how Jessica was acting that night.
Does it fairly and accurately depict Ms. Marks's demeanor on the night of March 24th?
Yes, it does.
All right, now I want to delve a little more into your observations that night. So what, if anything, did you notice about Jessica's eyes?
They were bloodshot and watery.
What about the way Jessica was talking?
She kept tripping over her words and she was slurring her speech a lot.
What about her conduct?
Oh, she was tripping over herself, and I remember one time she even stumbled in front of the bartender, the server.
And about what time did she bump into the bartender?
It was about 10 o'clock.
And who did you say that bartender was?
It was Sunny, our server too.
Right, now, Mr. Robertson, can we get Exhibit 10 back up on the screen? All right, now, Ms. Levin, you said that this fairly and accurately depicted Ms. Marks's demeanor on the night of March 24th?
Yes, just as she was acting, yeah.
All right, Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter Exhibit 10 into evidence.
Any objection, defense?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 10 will be received.
All right, Miss Levin, about what time did you leave the bar?
It was close to midnight.
And what happened when you left?
Jessica was stumbling around like crazy, so I told her to get an Uber, but she was just so drunk she wouldn't listen to me. Like she wasn't acting like herself. That's not the Jessica.
Once again, speculation. The witness is speculating that Jessica was drunk at the time.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, we laid the foundation that you asked for my witness to give this lay opinion.
Overruled. You may proceed.
All right, Miss Levin, did you want to finish your answer?
Yes. She was just so drunk. She was stumbling around. So I told her to get an Uber, but she wouldn't listen to me. She wasn't thinking straight. She wasn't acting like herself at all. And she ended up getting into her car and driving off. I was right behind her the whole time.
All right, thank you, Miss Levin. Your Honor, at this time, I have no further questions.
Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Miss Morgan Levin, I'm gonna have to ask you a few questions about your deceased friend, Jessica Marks. I hope that's okay. Now, I'd firstly like to talk about the decisions that were made before March 24th. You said that Jessica had more than 3 drinks that night, right?
Yes, she did.
So you lied to a police officer?
I didn't lie. It was just in the heat of the moment. The police officer asked me, and I was under 21 at the time. I didn't lie. I ended up clearing my story.
I'd now like to display Exhibit 23, which has been pre-admitted into evidence based on a stipulation. You told the police officer that you only had 3 drinks, right?
I said about 3. I said I don't know because everything, it was just so hectic at the time. I couldn't really remember. But I said I wasn't sure. I said about 3, which is like a few drinks.
And you said that Jessica also only had about 3, right?
I said she had a few. We were talking to a police officer, so I was under a lot of pressure.
And this was after you lied about drinking in the first place, right?
I didn't lie. Like I said, the police officer asked me, and I knew we were not 21 at the time. So I just said that, but I ended up telling him, Officer Gaskins, exactly what happened.
It's your testimony that you did not initially lie to officer?
I told the officer that I didn't have anything to drink just because I'm not 21 and I wasn't 21 at the time. But then I ended up telling the officer that, yes, I did have a few things to drink.
Now, after the trial was over, Ms. Marks tried to sue you, right?
Jessica Marks tried to sue
No, Ethel, Ethel Marks.
me? Yes, she did. She was going to.
Now, a suit costs a lot of money, right?
I've never been in one. I wouldn't really know.
But it could cost a lot of money, right?
I guess.
And now you're testifying on behalf of the plaintiff.
Yes, because I saw what happened.
The same people that initially tried to sue you.
Yes.
Now, you and Jessica Marks both have fake IDs, right?
Yes, we do.
And it was Jessica Marks who decided to get these fake IDs?
Objection, Your Honor. 404, may I be heard?
You may.
Your Honor, evidence of Jessica Marks having a fake ID would be character evidence under Rule 404.
Response defense?
Yes, Your Honor. We're not talking about whether or not, we're not trying to adhere to her character evidence. We're basically trying to simply state that she was the one that decided to get the fake ID.
And may I respond as to that, Your Honor?
You may.
Yes, Your Honor, that's exactly what I have a problem with, and what I am alleging is character evidence against Ms. Marks.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Carrying a fake ID is a misdemeanor, which falls under dishonesty, which is an exception, which is stipulated, and it falls under the exception of dishonesty in character evidence, which basically means that if someone has a propensity to lie, that doesn't fall under character evidence.
May I respond as to that, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, if you really take a look at Rule 609, it says that these acts have to be prior convictions. And in this case, Jessica Marks wasn't convicted of anything.
I'm going to overrule the objection. Feel free to re-raise it if you feel like it's going too far. But I'll let you probe into the fake ID for now.
Yes, Your Honor.
Jessica Marks decided to get these fake IDs, right?
I don't believe she decided because I don't know what goes on in her mind, but I do know that she got them for us.
And I'm now displaying exhibits 3 and 4. These are your fake IDs, right?
Yes, the one with my face is my fake ID. The other one is Jessica Marks.
And these are fair and accurate.
Yes, they are.
We'd now like to offer exhibits 3 and 4 into evidence.
Any objection?
Your Honor, I have no objection.
Now,
Exhibits-
you know, oh, sorry, apologies.
The proceed, I just was going to say exhibit 3 and 4 is admitted.
Now, you know it's a misdemeanor to have a fake ID, right?
Yes, I do.
So you committed a crime?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to talk about the decisions you made before you went to Sunny's on March 26th. You met Jessica at her Airbnb, right?
That's where we met up.
You guys had a couple of glasses of wine.
Objection, Your Honor. 404 again. May I be heard?
You may.
Your Honor, any evidence of drinking prior to March 24th, that's character evidence under Rule 404A.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
I'm talking about the hours before they left to Sunny's at the Airbnb on March 24th, the night of March 24th. I believe I clarified that before I asked the questions, but.
May I be heard as to that?
You may.
Your Honor, because Sunny Mehta did not serve them these drinks, they're not really in question today.
May I respond one final time?
You may.
The fact that she went to the bar drinking means that Sunny Mehta had no idea that maybe she walked in drunk, or she died because she was drunk. And the fact that she was drinking before and Sunny Mehta had no knowledge of her drinking is 100% relevant and not character evidence, as it was that night and it was the same alcohol that eventually led to her death.
Your Honor, may I respond as to that?
One more time and then, yes, I'm going to roll.
Yes, Your Honor, it doesn't matter whether or not Sunny knew Jessica had been drinking. The whole reason we're here is that he should have been able to perceive whether or not she was obviously intoxicated while he was serving her. It doesn't matter if he has any prior knowledge of her drinking before she came to the bar. He knows if she's obviously intoxicated or not.
Okay, I think I'm ready to rule, given that what's an issue today is whether she was visibly intoxicated. I think the drinks that she had that day bears on that, so I am going to overrule the objection at this time.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'll ask the question again. You had a couple of glasses of wine, correct?
One, I had one, Jessica had one or two.
I'm now displaying exhibit 5, which is a picture that was posted on Jessica's Instagram. Now in this post, she said a start to a good night, correct?
Yes, she did.
She also said hashtag go big or go home.
Yes,
And just to
Yeah.
clarify, this was before you went to Sunny's.
all before we went to Sunny's bar, yeah.
And you guys were staying in Brentwood, right?
Yes,
Intending on going to East Malibu.
yes,
Now, according to the scale, you drove 12.5 miles.
yes,
12.5 miles after drinking with the intention to drink more.
I intended to drink more. I don't know if Jessica intended to drink more. So
And at the end of your trip at Sunny's, she made the decision to drive home, right?
she wasn't herself at the time when she made that decision, but yeah, she
In
did.
fact, she even said, I've gotten pretty good at driving after a big night.
She said that. Yeah.
And then she died.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect?
I have no redirect, Your Honor.
Okay, plaintiff, you're excused, Ms. Levin, thank you. Plaintiff, do you have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff rests.
Okay, do we want to take a 5-minute recess or would we like to press on?
The defense is ready to proceed on, but if anyone else requires a break, we're okay for a break too.
How do you feel, plaintiff?
We're fine with going forward with the trial.
Okay, defense, you may call your first witness.
Apologies, I was muted. The defense calls Sunny Mehta to the stand.
Hi there.
Hi, Sunny, you've been previously sworn, and defense, you may proceed.
Hi, could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Sure. My name is Sunny. Sunny Mehta.
And what is it you do for a living?
Well, currently I'm unemployed. I used to be the owner of Sunny's Rooftop Bar.
And so what's your background?
Well, I sold the bar on July 1st, 2020. I sold it to Stebbins Incorporated. They specialize in pantsuits.
I see. So why exactly are you here today?
Ma'am, Jessica Marks, she died after going to my bar.
And how do you know Jessica Marks?
I served her that night.
And is there anything that you need to look out for as a bar owner as you serve alcohol?
Sure. I need to figure out whether the customer is intoxicated.
And go ahead.
That was all for that question, ma'am.
So how exactly do you know what to look out for?
So I guess it varies person to person. I guess the usual signs of being intoxicated are a bloodshot eyes, a loss of balance, occasionally slurred speech, again, depending on the person.
And how exactly do you know these are things to look out for?
I actually underwent a training called the Responsible Beverage Service course. Everybody in California who wants to be a bartender has to take that course.
Well, let's bring this back to our case. When did Jessica get to the bar?
I want to say 9 p.m. maybe. That sounds about right.
And when she arrived, did you happen to see any of these symptoms?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What happened when they got to the bar?
I walked the two of them, Jessica and Morgan, up to table 4 of the rooftop.
And how many people were up on that rooftop?
Maybe 20, maybe 16.
And who was their server?
That was me, ma'am.
How many times would you say that you went to their table?
Collectively, maybe 8, 10 times.
And how long were each of these times that you went to the table?
Maybe 30, 45 seconds.
And during that night, did you see any of those symptoms in Jessica, the symptoms that you mentioned earlier?
From what I can remember, she didn't have any bloodshot eyes. I don't remember her slurring her words either. And I didn't see her lose her balance or anything like having difficulties walking either.
And what about her friend, Morgan Levin?
Morgan, on the other hand, I would say I did see those symptoms. I remember the bloodshot eyes, her slurring her words a little bit, and she had a little bit of trouble walking.
Did you respond in any way?
Sure. Towards the end of the night, I actually went to their table, again, table 4, and I asked Jessica whether Morgan would be driving home because, Morgan looked pretty tipsy. And Jessica said, no way. I think she said, I'm driving home.
Now, what happened towards the end of the night when they were leaving?
Well, as is protocol, I watched the two of them leave the bar that night. So I watched them come down the stairs.
And why exactly did you do that?
Again, ma'am, it's protocol.
Now, were you here earlier during Morgan Levin's testimony?
I was, ma'am.
Did you hear her say anything along the lines of Jessica stumbling into you and her saying we might need to cut this one off?
I did hear that, ma'am.
Did that ever happen? Did you ever say that?
Ma'am, I don't want to call anybody a liar, but that never happened.
And why exactly did you think that Jessica was fit to drive that night?
Well, because like I said, toward the end of the night, I went to their table and Jessica, who honestly looked very fine, said that she would be driving home.
No further questions, Your Honor, at this time.
Plaintiff, cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Mehta, you mentioned on direct that you were the person who served Jessica and Morgan that night. At least 8 separate times you went to their table, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That sounds about right.
Now, Miss Marks, she arrived at 9 p.m., correct?
From what I can remember, yes, ma'am.
She left right before midnight.
I think so. That sounds about right.
So between 9 p.m. and midnight, you served their table 3 cans of White Claw,
Yes, ma'am. The alcoholic seltzers.
1 IPA draft,
Yes, ma'am.
1 IPA can,
Yes, ma'am.
2 green tea shots,
Yes, ma'am.
and an entire bottle of wine. Do I have that right?
Yes. I
And to
apologize.
be clear, that's not a glass of wine, that's an entire bottle of wine.
Yes, ma'am. That was a decoy red wine.
So that's 7 individual drinks and an entire bottle of wine.
Your math sounds about right.
And you served all that to 2 teenagers?
Well, ma'am, I didn't know they were teenagers at the time, but now that I realize that, yes, ma'am.
One of whom, Miss Marks, was about 5 feet tall.
I think so.
You estimate she was about 110 pounds.
Well, ma'am, we don't have scales at the bar, but afterward, I thought she was about that weight.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance as to her height and weight. Why would whether Sunny Mehta knows her height and weight be relevant to today's case?
Your Honor, may I respond as to that?
You may.
Your Honor, since alcohol can affect people differently depending on things like size, knowing that Jessica Marks was 5 foot tall, 110 pounds would be relevant in this case, especially since Sunny Mehta was the one who gave these estimates about Miss Marks's size.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Sunny Mehta is trained to see symptoms. He's not trained as an expert witness to know things based off of someone's weight and height, and therefore it should not be relevant how tall or how heavy she was.
Your Honor, may I respond as to that?
I think I'm ready to rule. I do think it meets the low bar for relevance, so I will overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Mehta, let's take a look at the timeline. So let the record reflect that I'm now showing Exhibit 11. And now this shows a glass in front of Miss Marks, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I guess so.
And now I'm now showing you Exhibit 12. And now that wine glass looks almost empty, correct?
I would say so, near empty.
All right, let the record reflect I'm now showing you Exhibit 13. Now there's a White Claw in front of Miss Marks.
Yes, ma'am. Mango.
That's 8% alcohol, correct?
I believe so, ma'am. 7 or 8.
There's also a can of Sierra Nevada IPA in front of Miss Marks.
Yes, ma'am. There is.
And
Behind.
You can finish your answer.
I was just saying it was behind the chips.
And that Sierra Nevada IPA is 6.5% alcohol.
I think it's 6.7, but that sounds about right.
Right. Now let the record reflect, I'm showing you Exhibit 14. And now there's another White Claw in front of Miss Marks.
I would say so. Yes, ma'am. That looks like it. 2.
It's 8% alcohol.
I think so. 7 or 8, ma'am. That sounds about right.
All right, Mr. Mehta. And now you mentioned on direct that Morgan Levin had also consumed some alcohol. So let's focus specifically on Jessica. You were previously shown Exhibit 10, correct?
Was that the video?
Yes, Mr. Mehta.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I was.
All right, permission to display Exhibit 10.
Okay.
All right, now, Mr. Mehta, I want you to pay attention to her voice in this first bit here.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so in your training, when someone's slurring their words, that's a sign of intoxication, correct?
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
All right, now next I want you to watch what Miss Marks does with her can.
Ed and I are in Hollywood. We're at a bar. It's kind of like a silly bar, except everything is really, really expensive. $10 for a seltzer.
So poor motor skills, that's also a sign of intoxication.
I would say so. Yes, ma'am.
All right, in this next clip, I want you to watch what she does with her glasses.
And everyone here wants to be a model or an actress. I'd like to thank the Academy, Mom and Dad.
Poor coordination is also a sign of intoxication, correct?
I would say so. Yes, ma'am.
And now in this next clip, pay attention to what Jessica does with her hands.
Inspired me. Okay, well, go big or go home.
Now, Mr. Mehta, looking at all of that, according to your standards, that's not obvious intoxication?
That is correct, ma'am. She looks a little bit tipsy, but I wouldn't say intoxicated.
Right. Well, now I want to talk about your observations towards the end of that evening. And now you previously testified that even when Jessica was leaving the bar, you didn't think she was obviously intoxicated. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, I did not.
And that would be after the video we just saw, correct?
That is correct, ma'am. I never thought she was obviously intoxicated.
After you had served her her last drink?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I never saw her drink anything.
All right. And your contention is that in that moment, nothing in her movement gave you cause for concern.
In her movement?
Nothing in the way that she was moving, walking, gave you cause for concern, correct?
No, ma'am. She didn't look like she was having a loss of balance or anything like that. No, ma'am.
All right, permission to display Exhibit 22, which has been pre-admitted.
Okay.
All right, so looking at this exhibit, it says at the bottom here that Jessica Marks had a BAC of 0.16, correct?
Yes, ma'am. 0.16.
Would you agree that someone with a BAC of 0.16 is intoxicated?
Obviously, yes, ma'am. That's 2 times the legal limit to drive.
And your contention is that a girl whose BAC was 0.16 was talking and walking normally?
Ma'am, I'm not arguing with you. It's not a contention. I'm just telling you what I saw.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mehta. Your Honor, at this time, I have no further questions.
Any redirect from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, the plaintiff brought up a video, right, where Jessica was talking, putting on some glasses. throughout the entirety of the night, did you see Jessica acting the way she was acting in that video?
No, ma'am. I did not. I never saw her act that way at all. And again, I served her all night.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Defense, do you have any other further witnesses?
No, Your Honor. The defense rests.
Okay. Are we ready to proceed to closing arguments, or did you want a break? What's the consensus?
The defense is ready, but if anyone else needs a break, once again, we're also happy with that as well.
The plaintiff is ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Wonderful. Then for all of our scoring judges, if you could go back to speaker view, top right-hand corner of your screen, and plaintiff, whenever you're ready, you may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Priceless. Sonny Mehta operated that bar to make a profit. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't begrudge him making a living. But when you think about Ethel Marks and you think about that 1 a.m. phone call, that's when the weight of this case really starts to sink in. There are some things money can't buy. The life of Jessica Marks was priceless. Now, as the plaintiff, we gladly accept our burden of proof. Our burden is by a preponderance of the evidence, which simply means more likely than not. And now, let's look at what you as the jury are asked to decide. Looking at those elements, we can easily narrow down the issues here. You see, it's not in dispute that Miss Marks was a minor. It's not in dispute that that the alcohol was what caused her to wreck that night. I mean, you can look at the police report whenever you go to deliberate. It says here that the cause of the accident was driving under the influence. So that leaves us with the question, when Jessica was in that bar being served by the defendant, was she obviously intoxicated? And answering that question, let's first start with the overwhelming volume of alcohol that she had. Decor wine, at least 2 glasses, draft beer, canned beer, rum and coke, shots of liquor. And keep in mind that Jessica was a 19-year-old, 5 foot tall, 110-pound girl. And the defendant would have you believe that after drinking all that beer, all that wine, all that liquor, that she was not showing signs of obvious intoxication. Does that seem reasonable to you? But we don't have to just consider the volume of alcohol. We don't have to guess what the defendant's standards are. He told us. Think back to the cross-examination of Mr. Mehta, the same person who served Jessica Marks that night. He looked at that video and he said, no, that's not obvious intoxication. Jessica's slurring her words, struggling to put on glasses, fumbling her bottles. We know that the defendant would continue to serve her alcohol because that's exactly what he told us today. We also know that the defendant continued to serve Jessica after she was drunk. You see, think about this. That video was posted at 11:11 p.m. But that doesn't mean that that's when the video was taken. If you look at the sequence of those pictures, what they show us is that the video was recorded at some point between 9:42 and 10:18 p.m. So notice here that the chips and guac disappear. And notice that the IPA draft is added in the video. And notice that the White Claw and the rum and coke pop up in the last picture. So that would have to be after the video was taken. What else do we know about the defendant's standards? At what point would they cut someone off? We know that the bar staff saw Jessica before she left, right before she crashed, and said, she's fine. Just moments later, we know that her BAC was 0.16. 0.16. Do you think 0.16 twice the legal limit? Do you think that that's not intoxicated? And now, the defense is going to get up here and ask you to weigh the actions of Jessica Marks with the defendant and its employees. And I just ask you to keep in mind that these laws, dram shop acts, They exist for a reason. You're being asked to weigh, on the one hand, a licensed, trained bartender. On the other hand, someone who's not even old enough to drink. I want to end where we started. Why did the defendant serve Jessica so much? A bottle of wine, $31. 3 White Claws, $27. Sierra Nevada IPA, $11. 2 green tea shots, $16. The life of Jessica Marks, priceless. You can't bring Jessica back, but your verdict does send them a message. Find for the plaintiff. Tell them that Jessica's life was worth something. Thank you.
Thank you, plaintiff. Do we have closing argument from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Just give me one moment.
Take your time.
Okay. Jessica's decisions led to Jessica's demise. Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury. Once again, Tavisha Khanna on behalf of the defense. Now, you've heard a lot today, but all of these facts and pieces of evidence boil down to the same questions we brought up in the beginning. What happened before Sonny's? What happened at Sonny's? And what happened after Sonny's? Let's start off with what happened before Sonny's. We know that not only did Jessica Marks go out of her way to obtain a fake ID, she used that ID to obtain the alcohol for that night. She made this decision to drink long before she was able to drink. This decision ultimately led to her demise. Not only did she do this, but she decided to start drinking before she even went to Sonny's. She said, "The start to a good night. Go big or go home." She knew that she was going to spend the rest of the night drinking, and she still decided to take her car 12.5 miles across LA to drink some more. The decisions Jessica made even before reaching Sonny's led to Jessica's demise. Now let's talk about what happened at Sonny's. She kept drinking, drink after drink after drink. But she was in control. She allowed herself to keep drinking. And why did Sonny keep letting her drink? Because he is a trained professional bar owner. He didn't see Jessica exhibit the symptoms of someone being obviously intoxicated. She didn't have bloodshot eyes. She wasn't slurring her words. She didn't have difficulty walking. He watched her walk down those stairs looking completely sober. Members of the jury, she wasn't exhibiting these symptoms. And the alcohol that she drank, the amount that she drank, has nothing to do with how intoxicated she was and the symptoms she was displaying. She was in control, and she decided, and she was aware of the decisions that she was making. What happened after Sonny's? She decided to drive home. She assured Sonny that she was fit to drive. After a night of heavy drinking, she ignored her friend Morgan, begging her to get into the Uber. "I've gotten pretty good at driving after a big night. No way I'm driving." She was in control. She made the decision to get into that car and drive. She decided to drive home. But her decisions ultimately led to a car crash. Her decisions to obtain a fake ID, to drive to the bar with the intention of drinking more, to not get into that Uber, to drive herself home, coupled with her complete lack of displayed symptoms, is what ultimately led to her demise. Here I've got the jury verdict form. Soon, you're going to have to fill out this form. Let's talk about the first question. Did the plaintiff prove, with a preponderance of evidence, that Jessica Marks's death was caused by the defendant serving alcohol? If you choose, that's it. You've reached a verdict that Sunny is completely at fault. However, if you choose yes, then we've come to a second question. Did we prove that it was caused fully by Jessica's own negligence? Did we prove that it is more likely than not that Jessica's death was somehow caused by her own negligence? Now, if you say yes, you've come to a verdict. However, if you still think no, then in this case, because of something called comparative negligence, you'll have to assign a value to see who's at more fault or more liable for Jessica Marks's death. While you fill this out, I want you to keep in mind what the plaintiff's case is built off of. The plaintiff's case is built off of someone who is currently under the threat of being sued. The plaintiff's case is caused by someone who lied to a police officer to protect herself, someone who herself was drunk that night, someone who exhibited the symptoms of someone being drunk, someone who has a misdemeanor, someone who doesn't remember much.
I think I maybe got kicked out for a second. Did anyone else?
I got kicked out as well.
Okay, that was really weird. And I think another room, it happened to them too. Defense, pick right up where you left off. Let's make sure we have everyone.
All right. Was I freezing before that, or was it just when everyone got kicked out? So I don't need to repeat anything, right?
Nope, I just completely got kicked out and then came right back in. Do we have plaintiff's counsel present?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Defense, do we have, hold on, let me see if we have our two judges. Looks like we do. Okay, defense, you are ready to pick up right where you left off.
Someone who admitted on the stand today that they don't remember much from that night. Your Honor, members of the jury, we're here today because Jessica Marks made some bad decisions. Decisions that started way before she even walked into Sunny's bar. Decisions that continued after she left. Now, Your Honor, the plaintiff is looking for someone to blame. But Sunny, the person who cares about his customers, shouldn't be at fault and shouldn't be blamed for something he didn't do. Find Sunny not liable because Jessica's decisions led to Jessica's demise.
Thank you, defense. Do we have any rebuttal from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Quite frankly, it surprises me that the defendant's argument seems to be, you can't believe Morgan because Morgan was drunk. Really? Who served Morgan that alcohol? They did. Is the defense in this case really that they served an obviously intoxicated minor, but just not the one who died? Mr. Robertson, can you bring up Exhibit 10 again?
Hi, everyone. Morgan and I are in Hollywood. We're at a bar. It's kind of like a silly bar, except everything is really, really expensive. $10 for a Spencer. And everyone here wants to be a model or an actress. I'd like to thank the Academy. Mom and Dad inspired me. Okay, well, go big or go home.
Members of the jury, would you say that that's drunk? Mr. Mehta wouldn't. Would you cut that woman off? Mr. Mehta didn't. Let's be clear. To say that that's not obvious intoxication, that's not a matter of opinion. It's absurd. Fine for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, counsel. We are going to have all of the judges submit their ballots or complete them and click submit. And then I'll ask that everyone stays on the call until everyone has submitted their ballots. And then I'll give us the green light to start comments.
Great job, by the way.
Thanks, you too. You did awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, can we have our scoring judges come on the screen, please? Congratulations, guys. And I was in contact with some of the other bailiffs in other rooms, and they had the same glitch. So no idea what that was, but I commend you guys for working right through it. So we can all give one brief comment at this time. My first thing that I'll say is that it's really hard to keep going when weird technology stuff happens, but you both did it seamlessly. Defense, I loved your cross, and plaintiff, I loved your closing, kind of went in order, but that was definitely the highlight for the both of you in the trial for me. And witnesses, you were both very credible and engaging. You know, especially with directs, the attention is supposed to be on the witness, and that's how it felt. So well done to all of you. Congratulations. Maybe Nicole, if you want to go next.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay? It's been like 50-50. I just always have to check. Hi guys, my name is Nicole. I am a Rising 1L at Columbia, and I competed with Arizona State. So really great round. I really enjoyed seeing everything. I'm gonna give one general comment, and I think the biggest area of growth that I would say, because it was a really high level and fairly close round, is just adaptability overall. I think that there were moments where adaptation happened really well. For example, in the closings, that honestly would have thrown me off. And the rebuttal I thought was fantastic. Plaintiff attorney, that was a really great job. Areas in which I would have loved to see a little more adapting is in objection arguments where you're told you raised an objection, say to 404, the opposing counsel says they're not actually using it for 404 purposes, and if you don't have anything to refute that, there may be another objection you can make that may be being used for prejudicial grounds or for not relevant grounds. So just try to think of what you can do in that moment to adapt there. I also thought I really enjoyed both crosses. I thought there could have been some really great follow-up to a witness saying, I didn't lie, when it's like, you did though. So I would have really loved to see a little more following the facts and not just kind of going to your next question, because I think that that's where you can see the difference between a really good, well-prepared attorney and just a next level cross-examination where you can actually stop what you're doing in the moment, throw out your script for like 30 seconds and say, hold on, what you just said doesn't make sense. And I'm gonna show you that now. So really outstanding job, love the witnesses, and you guys are all great, so keep it up.
Okay, you want me to, I thought you both did a great job, so congratulations on that. I think that adaptability is something you learn over time. That's a hard thing to do, to switch. And I would say, you know, at times people were locked into their argument that could have been moved. Maybe the defense a little bit was so blaming the victim. I had one problem with the defense when in your first cross-exam, you started referring to the police report, and there had been no mention of the police or a police report. You know, you were kind of suddenly saying, well, you lied to the police. And I was thinking, what? You know, that needed some foundation for that, you know, that there had been an interaction with the police or a police report. The police report hadn't been entered, and anyway. But I thought you both did a good job. I did think the plaintiff adapted, and especially in the rebuttal closing. But I thought this is not an easy thing. I thought you both did a great job.
I also commend you both for dealing with my wacky rulings. I tend to err on the side of overruling them to kind of let you guys do your thing, but my rulings were very wacky. But I think we're all set to log off. Congratulations and best of luck moving forward.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Thank
Take
you
care.
guys.
Yeah.